Fizmarao, Tivarantikon, Kiran Tukata, Look and Hagivan Grutana Nusma.
قفوا بخوف أمام الله وانصتوا لسماع الإنجيل المقدس. فصل من بشارة الإنجيل لمعلمنا ماري لوقا البشير التلميذ الطاهر بركاته من مزامير أبينا داود النبي والملك بركاته على جميعنا آمين. يا رب إله القوات أرجع واطلع من السماء وانظر وتعهد هذه الكرمة أصلحها وثبتها هذه التي غرزتها يمين مبارك هو الآتي باسم الرب إله القوات ربنا وإلهنا ومخلصنا وملكنا كلنا يسوع المسيح ابن الله الحي الذي له المجد الدائم إلى وابتدى يقول للشعب هذا المثل إنسانا غرس كرما وسلمه إلى كرامين وسافر زمنا طويلا وفي الوقت أرسل إلى الكرامين عبدا لكي يعطوه من ثمر الكرم فجلده الكرامون وأرسلوه فارغا فعاد وأرسل عبدا آخر فجلدوا ذلك أيضا وأهنوا وأرسلوه فارغا ثم عاد فأرسل ثالثا فجرحوا هذا أيضا وأخرجوه فقال صاحب الكرم ماذا أفعل أرسل ابني الحبيب لعلهم إذ رأوه يهبون فلما رأوا الكرامون تآمروا فيما بينهم قائلين هذا هو الوارث هلما نقتله لكي يصير لنا الميراث فأخرجوه خارج الكرم وقتلوه فماذا يفعل بهم صاحب الكرم يأتي ويهلك هؤلاء الكرامين ويعطي الكرم الآخرين فلما سمعوا قالوا حاشا فنظر إليهم وقال إذن ما هو هذا المكتوب الحجر الذي رفضه البناؤون هو قد صار رأسا كل من يسقط على ذلك الحجر يتردد ومن سقطه عليه يسحقه فطلب رؤساء الكهنة والكتبة أن يلقوا الأيدي عليهم في تلك الساعة لكنهم خافوا الشعب لأنهم عرفوا أنه قال هذا المثل عليهم والمجد لله
Stand up in the fear of God and listen to the Holy Gospel. A reading from the Gospel according to our teacher, St. Luke the Evangelist. May his blessings be with us all. Amen. From the Psalms for our father, David the prophet and the king. May his holy blessings be with us all. Amen. Return, we beseech you, O God of hosts. Look down from heaven and see, and visit this vine and the vineyard which your right hand has planted. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, our God, and our Savior, Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, to whom is glory
forever.
Then he began to tell the people this parable. A certain man planted a vineyard, leased it to vine dressers, and went into a far country for a long time. Now at vintage time, he sent a servant to the vine dresser, that they might give him some of the fruit of the vineyard. But the vine dresser beat him and sent him away empty-handed. Again he sent another servant, and they beat him also, treated him shamefully, and sent him away empty-handed. And again he sent a third, and they wounded him also, and cast him out. Then the owner of the vineyard said, "What shall I do? I will send my beloved son. Probably they will respect him, and they see him." But when the vine dressers saw him, they reasoned among themselves, saying, "This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, that the inheritance may be ours." So they cast him out of the vineyard and killed him. Therefore, what will the owner of the vineyard do to them? He will come and destroy those vine dressers and give the vineyard to others. And when they heard it, they said, "Certainly not." Then he looked at them and said, "What then is this that is written? The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. Whoever falls on that stone will be broken, but on whomever it falls, it will grind him to powder." And the chief priests and the scribes that very hour sought to lay hands on him, but they feared the people, for they knew he had spoken this parable against them.
Glory be to God
In the name of the Father, and Son, and Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Today, as we just heard, a very important parable that our Lord Jesus Christ told people around him, and especially the leaders of the people. So I'm going to ask you a few questions first to make sure we all understand the parable, and then we'll meditate on a couple of minor points regarding that parable. So the parable, as we all know, about somebody who owned a vineyard, and he took care of that vineyard, then left it for his stewards to take care of him. And every year he would send one of his servants to try to get the fruit from that vineyard. But the vine dressers, the people, the stewards of the vine, were really evil. And they wouldn't really give his servants anything. Until at one point he said, "Maybe they don't respect my servants. I'm going to send my only son, the son who bears my image." and see what they are going to do with my son. Are they going to give him the fruit or not? And as the parable goes on, they took the son and said, that's the heir. That's the one who is going to inherit everything. So let's kill him. And that's what they did here. So my first few questions for you. Who is the owner of that vineyard? Like obviously the parable points to something. So who was the owner of the vineyard? God the Father. Exactly, is that right? God the Father, the owner of the vineyard. What's the vineyard? It could be us. It could be the people of God in the Old Testament, and it could be the church. Is that right? So it's the people of God in general, whether individual or as one unit, as a church, or as the people of God. Very good. So God the Father would send his servants. Who were the servants? The prophets, exactly. He asked the prophets to the people in the Old Testament asking for fruit. Did he get any fruit from them? No. What did the people of God, or the leaders of the people of God, did in the Old Testament? They would persecute the prophets. Is that right? Until he said what? Maybe the prophets are not enough. I'm going to send my only begotten son. And who is his son? Jesus. And that what did they do to Jesus? They killed him and crucified him. So Jesus was actually telling this parable to make the leaders of the people, the scribes and Pharisees, think about what they are doing. And they condemned themselves in this parable, because at the end he asked them, what would the owner do? And then what they said, he should really take this vineyard from the vine dresser and give it to others. And that's really what happened. That really, when the Jewish leaders rejected the faith, the door of faith was open to the Gentiles, to us all, not just to the Jewish nation, but to everybody. But the 2 points I want to quickly focus on today are two things. One is that we have to remember that God is the owner of the vineyard. So we said, with the vineyard could be the church, could be each one of us. So the church does not belong to us. The church is God's. So who is going to take care of the church? It is God. Who is going to take care of my life? It is God. I shouldn't worry. And that's really what, if we look at other version of this parable in the Gospel of St. Matthew, at the beginning they describe what the owner of the vineyard did to the vineyard. He really dug it up and built a fence around it and built a tower and made sure every sort of protection is there for the vineyard. So that's the first point we have to meditate upon. Our life and our church is in God's hands. And nothing is going to hurt us except by his permission, except nothing is going to hurt us. God could allow things that we do not understand, but these things are not going to hurt us. They are for our good. And all the church history and all our own life testify to that God takes care of every small and every big thing of our life. If you look at the history of the church, our church has suffered persecution for 20 centuries. And it survived because God promised that the gates of Hades are not going to prevail against it. So when we hear about wars of persecution in Egypt and elsewhere, yes, we get concerned and obviously feel sorry and hurt with people who are hurting, but at the end of the day, we trust that God would change the bad things into good, and that the gates of Hades are never going to prevail against it, and that he has his blessing on the land of Egypt and on the church of Egypt. So that's really the first thing we have to meditate upon. God is our protector. And even our contemporary history testifies to that. We all remember the event of 1981 when President Sadat persecuted the church, and he put our beloved Pope Shenouda under house arrest in the monastery. He arrested 24 priests and bishops. And this happened in September. And nobody knew what is going to happen to the bishops and the priests. There were rumors that Sadat's going to put them in jail or even execute them. But as we all know, within a month, God ended the whole thing. And we all know in a month, the president was killed and the church survived. And there were many people who saw during this month's visions that the whole heaven is praying for the church to go through this painful time unharmed. And right the day before President Sadat was killed, as we all know, 4 bishops and priests, that among the 24 who were arrested, 2 they were putting each 2 in a different cell. And at the same night, two people in 2 cells, so Pope Kyrillos appeared to them in a vision and told them, "Don't worry, it's done. We took care of it." And the next day, the Sadat was killed, and as we all know, they set the bishops and the priests free. So God is taking care of every little thing. He's taking care of the church and every little thing in our life. And we have to trust that we are His vineyard. And He's the one who's going to take care of His vineyard. And that's why the psalm that we read today says that, "Return, we beseech you, O God of hosts, look down from heaven and see and visit this vine and the vineyard which your right hand has planted." It's the right hand of God who planted the church and gave life to the church and to each one of us. So that's the first point we meditate upon. The second and a very important point is we have to meditate upon the fruit that God is expecting of the vineyard. The vineyard, as we said, is the church and each one of us. And God is expecting fruit from each one of us. And God is giving us this life as an opportunity to bring fruit, to bring forth fruit. And what is the fruit that God is waiting for? What do you think? What is the fruit that God is waiting for?
Good deeds.
Our good virtues, good life, good deed, love, the fruits of the Spirit. That's really what God is looking for. When we love one another, that's the fruit that makes God happy. When we serve one another, that's the fruit that God makes God happy. When we forgive one another, when we are a good example to people around us, when we are filled with joy, love, and peace, these are the fruits of the Spirit. When we are humble, when we put others in ahead of us, when we think not only of what is for us, but what is for the other, these are the fruits that what makes God happy. And these are the fruits that God expects from us. And it is very important that each day we look at the day and see what fruit did I bring to God. This is very important. We shouldn't let our days pass by unknowingly. Time flies and year passes after year, but I have to ask myself, what fruit did I bring to God? And each day I have to think about this. What did I do today? Did I behave the way Christ wanted me to behave? Christ gave us this life so that at the end we become like Him. We become an image of Him. As God is loving, we become loving. As God is humble, we are humble. As God is forgiving, we are forgiving. Each day we have to be transformed to become like Him. That's our most important mission. That's our most important work. When we say God is waiting for good works from us, yes, the most important good work for us is that we become virtuous. We become holy like Him. We become loving and peaceful and joyful like He is. I'm going to tell you a very interesting story. It's a real story that was told to us by Tamav Irini herself. As we all know, Tamav Irini was a very holy nun living in Egypt that went to heaven in 2006. And Tamav Irini was living on earth, but in reality she was living in heaven. Like, she has a very strong connection with heaven. She would go to visions in heaven and see Christ and see the angels. Tamav Irini had a very holy nun in her monastery. Her name was Mina Agabi. Tamav Agabi. Agabi, as we all know, means what? Love in Coptic. Tamav Agabi. Tamav Agabi actually was actually, she reposed in the Lord. She was the sister of Amba Demetrius, who is the bishop of Malawi and is still living till today. Mina Agabi was his sister in the flesh. Mina Agabi was a very holy nun, and she became a nun right after Tamav Irini became the abbess of the nun, or the head of the convent of Abu Sufyan. Tamav Irini was very holy, and she had many, many virtues. And her family also was a very virtuous family. As we said, her brother was or is an Amba Demetrius. May God keep him for us. She had a habit of always being the first to go to the church. But one day, they noticed that she didn't come to the church early. She came late after Matins. So after the liturgy, Mina Irini asked Mina Agabi, "Why were you late? That is not your habit. You never come late, but this day you came late." So Tamav Agabi told her, "Tamav, I was getting ready to come to the church, but then suddenly I felt as if I want to sleep, and then I slept for only half an hour and saw a very strange vision. That I'm going to tell you this vision. I don't understand what this vision means." So what she saw in Mina Agabi is the following. She saw her dad wearing white garments and going up to heaven. And he had like a knapsack in his hand. And then she saw herself in the vision following him. And in her hands was like a fish made of metal and had some bulbs around it, but the bulbs were not lit. And she saw her father going up to heaven, and she is behind him. And then after, not only she saw that, she saw many people going up to heaven, and each person was holding a knapsack in his hand. And then she saw her dad arrive at the gate of heaven. And then she found her dad presenting the knapsack to the angel standing in front of the gate of heaven. And suddenly she found that the knapsack that her dad had started emitting light, very bright light. And she heard a voice saying, "Worthy to enter the kingdom." And she found her dad entering into the kingdom. And then she found other people. Each people would come to the gate of heaven, present the knapsack. And then some knapsacks would start emitting light, and others would be very dark. People whose knapsacks were lit entered the kingdom, whereas people whose knapsack did not light up, actually she found them falling down and disappearing. She didn't know where they went. And then her turn, she didn't go to heaven, but she found herself going down to earth and trying to fix this fish that had the bulbs but was not lit. And she was trying to connect the wires back to make the fish light up again. And then she woke up. So she told Tamav, "I really don't understand what this vision was all about." So Tamav Irini told her something very strange. She told her, "Your dad had just made it to heaven, and in a few hours you're here that he actually just departed in heaven. But he made it and is a very good place. And for you, Tamav, you're in good shape, but you're not perfect yet. And God is going to give you 5 years." See, Tamav told her, God is going to give you 5 years to work on yourself. And then you'll make it to heaven, and you'll be in a wonderful place as well. And she told her, these knapsacks are our lives. At the end, our works, our lives, are they reflective of the goodness of God or not? Tamav Agabi, after this event, actually, she knew that she had minor things in her life. She said, "I was very sensitive. So if somebody would hurt me, I would hold the grudge, and it's not easy for me to forgive." She was very highly educated, so if Tamav Irini would tell her to do something and she thinks it's better done in another way, she would, behind Tamav Irini back, would do it her own way. But in any case, Tamav Agabi took the vision as if it's really going to be 5 years. It's actually all recorded. This happened in June 8, 1986. This was the vision, the date when she saw that vision. That same year, December 27, 1986, she saw another vision. And she saw many versions. And among them, she saw Saint Damiana. And Saint Damiana told Mina Agabi, record this date. Exactly 5 years from that date, we're going to come and take you to heaven. So this was in 1986, December 27. In November 1991, Tamav Irini for the first time started feeling a bit weak. And she saw Tamav Irini, I feel weak. You remember Tamav, the vision, it seems it is real. It seems that this vision is real, and I'm going to go to heaven next month. And Tamav Irini قالت لها, yes, it is real. وفعلا in December 27, 1991, Mina Agabi departed to heaven. And after she departed to heaven, Mina Irini saw her in a vision and saw her wearing very white garments in a very, very nice place. And not only that, she saw an interesting story I might have told you about before. In that vision, she saw Pope Kyrillos and Amba Macarius and saw Mina Agabi. And she saw Mina Agabi going to Pope Kyrillos and telling Pope Kyrillos, pray to God, Sayyidina, so that God may bring Tamav to us. Tamav, as we all know, her life was a tough life. And she had many sickness and many pains and so on. And so Mina Agabi was telling Pope Kyrillos to pray to God, for God to bring Tamav Irini to heaven so that they all have a joy together in heaven. But Pope Kyrillos would tell her, not yet, Mina. Mina Irini is needed on earth. She has many, many, many things to do. We cannot take her now. Yes, there is a lot of pains and a lot of suffering, but God is supporting her. And God is going to support her until her mission is complete, until she glorified God and took care of the convent and her daughters. And Fa'lan Mina Irini, as we all know, lived many, many years in so much pain. Her heart, and Dr. Ayman knows more about this, but her heart, the efficiency of her heart was like less than 20%, or like 18% or something. And she lived with that for years because God had a mission for her. And every time she would be about to die, and many times she died actually and came back to life, as we all know. And when she would go to heaven, she would hear a voice saying, not her time yet. Her daughters are crying for me to heal her and bring her back to them. And that would happen. So these stories tell us that really God is waiting for fruit. And our life here on earth is given for us to bring that fruit. And the most important fruit for us is to be like Christ, to have love, peace, joy, forgiveness. That's really our most important task here on earth. It's, yes, we all have our jobs and our families to take care of, and this is very, very important. But the most important gift and job and mission is for me to become holy like Him. And only when I become holy like Him, I can save my household and my children and people around me. I have to save myself first. I have to be holy, and I have to be a good example for them. And when I'm this way, automatically, I'm going to save people around me. There is a father of the church who said, if one soul attains the peace of God, 1,000 souls around it would be saved automatically, without doing anything. Look at someone like an Ambabula, the first of the hermits, or Abuna Justus, or Abuna Fanus. These people were very simple. They didn't preach, they didn't talk. And Ambabula lived 80 years without seeing the face of a man. But until today, his prayers and his life story is bringing millions and thousands of people to Christ. Abuna Justus, Abuna Fanus, they didn't speak words. Abuna Justus, all what he would say is, what time is it? To remind us that time is passing and we have to be watchful for our salvation. Let us keep this point in mind, that we are His vineyard and God is expecting fruit from our lives, and we have each day to really look at our day and see what fruit we brought him. May God give us the grace to live according to his commandment, and glory be to God forever and ever.